everybody, welcome back to Texas 911. I hope that you've enjoyed the first few videos of this series. Today we're going to continue on talking about the whole hiring process and how to find jobs and stuff like that. This series that we're working on. And today we're going to be talking about the whole hiring process. Just kind of a general overview. And then as the videos continue, we're going to be going a little bit more in depth into them. So when I post those, I'll be putting a little link up here in the top of this video to get you a little bit more help. So if you're watching it right now live, they won't be there. But if you watch it in the future, they will be. So make sure you click on those little tags up there at the top. So let's go ahead and get started. Y'all. So today, like I said, we are talking about the whole hiring process of a 911 dispatcher, and this is just going to be just an overview of these. So we're going to be going through these pretty fast and just kind of lightly touching on them. But before we get into that, please make sure that you click on the subscribe button down here in the bottom right hand corner, as well as the bell icon so you don't miss any of my videos. Also, follow me over on TikTok at Texas 911 Dispatcher. You can find me on there. Just simply search for it. Alright, so of course the very first thing that you have to do is you have to fill out your application. Now you're going to be going through your application. You're going to be filling out every single solitary blank. I cannot stress this enough. Go through and fill out every blank. If it doesn't pertain to you, like say for example you haven't served in the military, make sure you put an NA on there because it's not applicable for you. Every blank on your application needs to be filled out, whether it's actually with some information or whether it's an NA, but make sure you fill that out. And as with a law enforcement job, any law enforcement job, not just a 911 dispatcher, you're going to be going back through your work history of 10 years. So not just the last 3 jobs that you've had, or not the last 5 jobs you've had, or whatever, but the last 10 years. And this is also as far as your residency. Most of the time, it's going to be the last 10 years. So if you're moving around a lot, and you live here for a year, you live there for a year, you have to put all that information in there. So as you're filling out these applications, put as best information as humanly possible. So make sure you get your addresses, make sure you get your employers, your date ranges and stuff, all that information, supervisors, all that needs to be done. So maybe even before you fill out the application, you might want to go through it and make a list of all these things, maybe while you're working on a resume or something like that. All right, so after you turn in your application, you're going to be basically a preliminary background check. They're going to look at your application. They're going to make sure you filled it out all of it correctly. They're going to run a criminal history on you. They're going to look and see if you do have a criminal history, what those charges are. Because at least here in the state of Texas, I'm sure it's that way other places as well, there's certain criteria that you have to meet in order to actually get your license to be a telecommunicator or a deputy or an officer or what have you. You can't have more than a Class A or Class C ticket or something on your license. Sometimes you can get like a Class B misdemeanor, depending on what it is. But anything more than that, you're gone. That's it. You don't even stand a chance. If you have any kind of assault or domestic, domestic battery, or family violence or something like that, you're automatically disqualified. So if you have anything like that in your history, don't even bother applying to be an officer or a dispatcher or anything like that in law enforcement, and sometimes even like firefighters and stuff like that. So if you have any of that, find another job. But anyways, they'll go through and they'll get the preliminary background check done, make sure that everything's okay, stuff like that. And then they'll call you and they'll say, okay, well, your application looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get a background packet to you and have you fill that out. Now, this packet is a humongous packet. Typically like 40, 50 pages of stuff, and it asks everything about you. the last 10 places that you lived, the last 10 places the 10 years worth of places that you've worked, that you've lived, your credit history, what kind of bills you have, who you owe money to, any debts that you have, any arrests that you've had, whether you've done any drugs in the past and whatnot. Make sure that you were completely, absolutely, totally honest on this packet. Even if you have, if you've done some kind of drug, if you've smoked pot or something like that, when you were a younger kid or, teenager or whatever, and now you're 30 something, it's not really going to matter that much. But be honest, be totally honest with this information, and don't leave anything out. Put as much information on there as you can, because they're going to check it. And if they find something in your background check that you didn't put in your packet, that's going to count against you. It may not totally disqualify you, but it very well might. All right, so after the in-depth background check is done, they're going to call you in for some agencies will call you in for a background interview. Now, what you're going to do with this, the person that's actually doing your background will call you in, and they'll ask you questions that have come up on your background check. So if you didn't put something in your background packet that they found, they're going to ask you about it. Or if you say, yes, I've done drugs, or yes, I've smoked marijuana, they're going to ask you about it. And this is your time to explain why you put on what you did and why you did what you did. And sometimes you can, get better working, a better time with your background than if you just, leave it blank. So they're going to do that. Also, a lot of times they'll check your social media. So you're going to have to log in to every social media account that you have, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, LinkedIn, anything like that. You're going to have to log in to your thing, and they're going to look at your page. They're going to look at all your posting history, all the stuff that you've shared. And this is where they'll look and say, okay, well, maybe this person doesn't quite fit because they share, some questionable stuff that might look derogative, or that might not look good towards the agency. Because remember, once you work for an agency, whether you're on duty or not, you are a reflection of that agency. So that's when they're going to do with that. So after your background is all done and they have everything that they like, and they want to take you in for an interview, so they'll give you a call, they'll set up an interview. Some agencies will do a one-on-one interview, others will do like a panel interview, and different things. Some of them might even do more than one interview. You might have one with the dispatch supervisor, you might have one with a panel with several different people, you might have one with the chief of police or something like that. There might be several interviews. When you go to your interview, make sure that you arrive early, not just on time. You arrive at least 15 minutes early, and dress accordingly. Don't come in with holey jeans, your hair all a mess, wrinkled shirt, or anything like that. Don't come like what I'm wearing now. I wouldn't come there with a sleeveless shirt and jeans or what have you. You want to be at very least business casual. Slacks, a nice button-up shirt, make sure your hair is done, and make sure that you're presentable. Again, you're going to be a reflection of that agency, and if the way that you dress and the way that you look might not reflect what they want. So show up early, business casual at the very least, and when you go back there, look everybody in the eye and shake their hand, answer the questions that they ask, and ask some of your own. And like I said, we're going to go through more in depth on these in a later video. This is just kind of overview, but you want to make sure that you set a very good first example by listening, by answering questions truthfully, honestly, and fully, and by asking questions in return. Because this is your chance to find out information about the agency that's maybe not listed in the job description as well. And like I said, some agencies will have a second interview. You'll have your panel interview or whatever. You'll go home, and maybe a week later, something like that, they'll call you back for a second interview to maybe answer some more questions, or an interview with the chief of police or something like that. I've had that once before in one of the agencies that I put in for. So after you've done this and you're pretty well selected, they'll give you a tentative job offer. And basically what this means is you've got the job, but you have to pass certain things before you can do that. So what they'll do a polygraph. Some agencies will do polygraphs. They'll do psych evals. They'll do a physical and stuff like that. And you have to go through there and pass your physical, pass your polygraph, pass your psych eval before you actually get the job. Even though you have basically been offered the job, it's tentative on these 3 or so things. So you'll do a psych eval, you'll do a polygraph. Some of them, I've never done an actual polygraph. I know with the law enforcement, it's more apt to do the polygraph than it is with a dispatcher, but some agencies do that for everybody that they have. I have done the psych eval. When I did it, I went, I filled out like a 200 question sheet, and then I went back and talked to the doctor. He looked it over, and I was wearing a hat that had this. I had a dispatch shirt on there, and he's like, "Well, it looks like you're pretty much a dispatcher already, and you pretty much have what you do what you love, I guess you could say." So went through that, no problem. Just be truthful and honest, especially in your polygraph. If you do that, make sure that you are totally honest with everything that you have, because if you're not, that can get you kicked out just immediately. All right, so after you've done all that, guess what? You are hired. Once you passed all your background, once you passed your psych eval and your polygraph and your physical, drug test, anything like that, that's it. You're done. Next coming up is training. And once you actually get to the job, you'll get a tentative hire date. And oftentimes, if you have a job already, they'll call you up and they'll say, you're hired. When can you start? Turn in that 2-week notice for your current job. Give them the 2 weeks like you should. Don't burn that bridge, because you never know what's going to happen. Some places that you work for might just say, well, you've turned in your 2-week notice, go ahead and go. Others might make you work that 2 week. When I first started the job that I had, I turned in my 2-week notice when I got my job offer, and my employer says, well, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I've come to realize that once you turn in your notice, you don't really work for me anymore. So, just go ahead and go. That was on a Friday, and I started at my first agency on Monday. So some places are like that. Some places will actually make you work the 2 weeks. So either way, don't burn the bridge of your previous job, because you never know when you might have to go back to it. And that's pretty much it. That's basically the overview of the entire hiring process of becoming a 911 dispatcher, or any job in law enforcement, or honestly a lot of jobs. So please make sure that you click on the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Click the bell icon so you don't miss any of these videos. The next video that's going to be coming out will be on Monday, I believe, and we're going to be talking about how to fill out the application, what kind of information you're going to need, and stuff like that. We're going to go a little bit more in depth into it. Next week, like I said, we're going to do the application on Monday, and on Thursday we'll talk about the background packet. But that's it. That's all I have for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please share this with your friends and with people that you know that might want to be a 911 dispatcher or are just starting their career. This channel, I'm going to have a whole bunch of stuff on there. This month we're talking about the whole hiring process and what all that entails. And then from there we're going to be going into stories and tips and tricks and training, and maybe even eventually down the road do some interviews and stuff like that, reviews and all sorts of stuff. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And until next time, y'all, stay safe out there.